Hi Retro Gamers, just like I did last year, I'm going to choose the game of the year. Unlike the previous video, I'm going to choose the games that I love the most. I'm not saying that these games are the best games released in 2020, but these are the games that I love the most. And if you like my videos, please click the subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. The Last of Us 2. The first Last of Us was one of my favorite video games, and in my opinion is one of the few games that deserve a 10/10 score. This sequel was very controversial. It's not just because of the violence and the sexual orientation of some characters, but because the game is so realistic and deals with subjects so serious and realistic that they made us think how it would be if the world were in a similar situation to the game. Thus the humanity and the remaining survivors did not unite and did not help each other. Or there would always be someone trying to benefit from the situation and taking advantage of the weakest. In the first game, I loved the relationship between Ellie and Joel, the voice acting, the involvement, the action, and the quietest moments. And in all these aspects, this sequel does not disappoint. And in my opinion, the game has lots of improvements in gameplay, graphics, music, cast performance, audio, the level design, that now is a little more open world. Some people love the ending, and some not that much. I personally don't know if I like the ending or not. Maybe if one day they will continue the story, I see if they made the right decision in the end. Personally, I like the first one better, but as I said before, the first one is one of the best games ever made, and reaching the same level would be almost impossible. Street of Rage 4. What can I say about a game that I already had lost hope of having a sequel? I finished so many times when I was a kid Street of Rage 1, 2 and 3 with my friends, always in the highest difficulty. It was too many times to count. This game made me love Sega and Sega Genesis. I also love Shinobi Golden Axe and Sonic, but Street of Rage was my biggest love, and is still today my favorite 2D franchise. This made me go back to that times and play with my friends again. In the year that everything went wrong, where almost everyone's plans have to be changed. Even the release of the new Street of Rage I thought was weird. The only thing that didn't change in 2020 was Rafael Nadal winning the Roland Garros. About the Street of Rage 4, the Street of Rage franchise has always been well known for its excellent gameplay and soundtrack. In both aspects, this game does not disappoint. The combos are great, the new characters Floyd and Sherry are good, and the return of Adam was great. I would also love to see the return of Max and have Shiva as a playable character, and maybe change one or two things, like for example all the characters have the ability to run, like in Street of Rage 3, but overall I couldn't be happier. I feel like a kid playing my favorite 16-bit franchise again. Doom Eternal. I love Doom 1, 2, 3 and Doom 64. Those games were scary. Every time a Banner of Hell or a Hell Knight appears with that huge and loud war cry, I almost crap my pants. The 2016 reboot, the game was changed to be more focused on action. The franchise continued to have good quality, but I personally miss the old games. I think Bethesda should have kept Doom as it was, and have done this reboot with Quake, because Quake was always been a more action oriented game. But the truth is, it's easier to make more money with a franchise like Doom, because it's much more popular than Quake. I'm not going to call this game a money grab, because the quality of the game is very high. That was a game that they developed themselves a lot to give us this great game. In Doom Eternal, I praise the campaign, graphics, level design, combat, soundtracks, and improvements over the 2016 reboot. But I hated the platform sections, just like I hated in the last one. The game has more enemies and weapons, and the action is even more hype. It's the first Doom that doesn't have the Cyber Demon as a boss, but to compensate, the final boss is the Icon of Sins, and this time is a real boss, and not a stupid wall, like it was in Doom 2. Although I miss the old Doom games, this is a very good game, and I think this Doom Eternal will appeal to old fans of the franchise, as well as any fan of the first-person shooters. Resident Evil 3 Remake. Resident Evil is my second favorite franchise after Zelda, and I really love Resident Evil 2 Remake. In my opinion, the Resident Evil 2 Remake was the best game in 2019, and I was very hyped for this Resident Evil 3 Remake. As a huge fan of the franchise, I love the game, I love the characters, I love the new Jill and Carlos, the design of the Nemesis. I also love the graphics, the sound, the gameplay, the voice acting, and almost everything. In my personal opinion, the game is not as good as Resident Evil 2 Remake, but in my opinion, the original Resident Evil 3 was not as good as the original Resident Evil 2. The original Resident Evil 3, in my opinion, is the least good old Resident Evil game. Resident Evil 0, 1, 2 and Code Veronica are much better. In this reboot, I only criticize the game for being too short, and the Nemesis is not that scary. Mr. X from Resident Evil 2 Remake is much scarier. The game is addictive and grabs the player to the point that we don't let go the game. In my opinion, it's another great game to add to this great franchise, and now just hope to the reboot of the Resident Evil Code Veronica. Now, the hardest part. Which one is the game that I most love in 2020? I have to go to Street of Rage 4, because it's a game that I have more fun this year, and the game that I play most hours. I waited 26 years for its release, and the game does not disappoint. So it's my pick for the game of the year. I'm not saying that it's the best game of the year, because there are so many great games released this year, and of course I didn't play all, but was the game that I love the most. So gamers, which one is your favorite game of 2020? Let me know in the comments. Take care, and let's all hope that 2021 is going to be better than was 2020, and that we are going to win this fight against this pandemic. Thanks for everything. See you in the next video.